With the introduction of this bill, the government is taking the first formal step to honour this commitment, a commitment we made not just to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, but to all Australians. The Constitution alteration Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Voice 2023 is a powerful marker of our respect for the First Nations peoples of Australia, their cultures and their elders past and present. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples have occupied the Australian continent for over 60,000 years and represent the oldest continuous living cultures in human history. They have maintained a relationship with Australia's land, waters and sky since time immemorial. Yet Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples are not recognised in our Constitution. This bill is to amend the Australian Constitution to recognise the First Peoples of Australia by establishing an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice. It is the first formal step towards holding a referendum by the end of this year. It is a form of constitutional recognition that is practical and substantive. And it is the form of constitutional recognition supported by the overwhelming majority of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander delegates who gathered from all points under the southern sky in May 2017 on the 50th anniversary of the 1967 referendum to endorse the Uluru Statement from the Heart. The constitutional amendment in this bill will rectify over 120 years of explicit exclusion in provisions of Australia's founding legal document. The Constitution never recognised Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the first peoples of this country. They were not represented in the constitutional conventions leading to federation. Constitutional recognition is an opportunity to acknowledge our history and come together for a more reconciled future. As Noel Pearson said in his Boyer lecture last year, Australia doesn't make sense without recognition. He went on to say that until the First Peoples are recognised in the Constitution, we are a nation missing its most vital heart. My colleague Senator Patrick Dodson, the father of reconciliation, said recently that a referendum on the constitutional amendment in this bill will be a moment of liberation for all of us. He said, "The moment the referendum is declared, we will feel the shackles of the past fall from us. We will all stand with a clean heart and a clean conscience, and we will know our country is on the path to a better direction. We, the Australian people, will make that decision on that day when we cast our vote. Together we can make this happen." The cultures of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and their relationship with lands, waters and sky have endured. The dispossession of their lands, languages and cultures and top-down government policies have inflicted deep and continuing wounds on generations of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and their cultures. Many suffer intergenerational trauma as a result of this history. Our nation as a whole has been diminished. In 1967, more than 90% of Australians voted to count Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples in certain population counts and allow the Commonwealth to make special laws about them. That overwhelming result would not have been achieved without the concerted efforts of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander leaders, activists and communities across the country. In 1992, the Mabo decision overturned the legal fiction that Australia was terra nullius, territory belonging to no one. It recognised in law Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people's relationship to country. In 2008, Prime Minister Kevin Rudd apologised to the stolen generations, their descendants and their families for the profound grief, suffering and loss caused by their mistreatment. This was followed by successive national agreements on closing the gap. But despite the best intentions of successive governments, efforts to date have been insufficient. New Closing the Gap data highlights that significant work needs to be done. 11 of the 15 Closing the Gap targets are not on track. We are failing. Aboriginal and Torres-Strait Islander peoples still face significant gaps in life expectancy and educational attainment. Despite commitments to reduce the representation of Aboriginal and Torres-Strait Islander peoples in the criminal justice system, they are still proportionately the most incarcerated peoples on the planet. On our current trajectory, the gap will not be closed by 2030. On our current trajectory, it will not close in our lifetimes. Mr. Speaker, it is a time for a different approach.